It says, surely, this is Isaiah 53:4 says, surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. So my question is who is the he, and then who is the us all?
Okay, so Isaiah 53:4. Okay, I'm gonna pull it up really quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's see how Maimonides kind of quotes it. Um, okay. So surely he took up their pain and bore our suffering, correct? That verse.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of the text is that surely our sicknesses he bore and our pains he carried, yet we regarded him as stricken and smitten. I think it's important to see what we mean by the word we regarded.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we look at the Jewish readings, I think Maimonides says, we hear as the nations and kings looking back in shock. Isaiah 52:15, Maimonides quotes that kings will shut their mouths, and that makes Isaiah 53:4 like a misinterpretation. So we saw Israel, the servant, suffering, assuming it was God punishing them.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what Maimonides says. He says the onlookers misjudge the servant as smitten by God when it's more complex. Bore doesn't mean atonement. It can also mean to carry a burden and to bear something that's placed on you.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at the sicknesses and pains from a Maimonides' views, he says the pains we caused him. So this is the nation's oppression or the burden the
Upon
servant
who?
carries. The burden carries on the nation's oppression.
Okay.
So when you look at Isaiah and other verses, it says that Israel will have a reign, like not a reign, but God will establish them as like the kings, I guess, of earth in a way,
Mm-hmm.
where it's a political thing, a political covenant. And
Yeah.
there is instances in the Bible where rabbis have to kind of question, was this God's judgment and affliction of him using, the Assyrians and other court cases to show to afflict the suffering? So
Yeah.
this is what I'm looking at the context of it, because this is written during the Babylonian exile as well, I believe.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
wounded for our transgressions. So this kind of escalates the answer to everything. So because of verses, what version are you using for Isaiah 53:5-6?
Let me see. It's I read ESV. Um, yeah, I read ESV. So, like, my main question is this, right? 'Cause it says, surely he, right? He has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows.
Uh-huh.
Yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God. So I guess my question is who is this he, and then who is the we?
He versus we.
Yeah.
But can you highlight both of the? Wait, just which one?
Yeah. So who is surely he? Who's this he?
Yeah. So he is the servant, and
Okay.
we is the group speaking about the servant.
Okay. Which group in particular?
We is the nations and kings.
Okay.
So this flip. So if you go to Isaiah 52:15,
Mm-hmm.
this is talking about the kings will shut their mouths and they will understand.
Yeah. Okay. So
Fifty-two
it's the
fifteen.
yeah. So it's the nations, right? I just wanted to get a clarification
Yeah,
that
so
the we
he
is the
refers to
nations.
Israel, and we reads the nations and kings confessing the Israel that's being misjudged.
Which
They
Israel?
misjudged Israel. Misjudged Israel is probably as the um, actual Israelites.
The actual Israelite. So this is
Yeah.
because Isaiah says that there's Israel Jacob, Israel the nation, Israel the servant, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So then how is the he singular, the nation, when the nation is sinful according to Isaiah?
So you're saying based off the kind of like uses of we versus us, stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, which were the three categories? Because I know it says the servant as we just
Yeah.
as a clarification.
Yeah, so you have Isaiah says that there's three, basically three Israels, right? You have Israel the nation, the 12 tribes of Judah, right?
Uh-huh.
Or the 12 tribes of Jacob, right? But then you have Israel who is Jacob, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And then you have Israel the servant.
Yeah.
So then right here, if according to Isaiah, Israel has fallen astray, everyone's fallen astray, all right?
Yeah.
Not just the other nations, but Israel itself. Then the he in Isaiah 52 and 53 has to be the servant. It can't be Israel itself.
Well, can I ask you this? So there's a historical nation in sin, Israel. So the Jewish Maimonides says that Israel as the historical nation in sin is one of them. So the Israel that is, rebuked, idolatrous, the children I raised you, they rebelled. That's in Isaiah 1.
Hmm.
Then there's Israel as a covenant servant identity, the ideal Israel. So this is verses chapter 40 through 55. So it says,
Hmm.
Israel, my servant. So
Yep.
this is a theological distinction of what Israel is meant to be. And
Hmm.
then the third one is Israel as the faithful remnant, the true Israel within Israel.
Hmm.
So this is the faithful core, a remnant that actually embodies the servant calling while the larger nation is compromised. So
Okay.
the remnant shall return. So this is how I guess I would formulate it. So Israel 1 is sin, judge, and exile. Israel 3 is remnant, faithful servant, and remains loyal. And Israel 2 is ideally the most ideal one, which is fulfilled through the faithful covenant and the nation is restored.
Okay. So my question is, because I know it talks about the remnant,
Yeah.
right? But this is talking about, because even the people who do follow righteously, right? They're still sinful. So then my real question is how are sinful people carrying the iniquities of other sinful people? When we look at because if you go down further in the passage, right?
Uh-huh.
If we go down to Isaiah 53, you I think you talked about it earlier.
Uh-huh.
It says, and let me see. Okay, so at verse 10, I think it says, yet it was the will of the Lord to crush him. He has put him to grief when his soul makes an offering for guilt. So if Israel is the servant, Israel is a sinful nation. Even the righteous remnant is
Uh-huh.
still sinful. So how are sinful people carrying the sins and the iniquities of sinful people and made a guilt offering for
Well,
sin?
are you referring to bearing iniquities as sinful? Because bearing iniquities often means bearing the consequences or burdens, not
Yeah,
necessarily being guilty of them.
yeah,
So
but
the
so
verb is
then,
nasa. So it's to
mhm,
you can carry a burden, endure the consequences without implying that I'm the guilty one. So the remnant of Israel that can bear the iniquities of the others is in the sense that they are swept into exile history. Because at the same time, you look at the Hebrew Bible, there are remnants of the Israel that are very faithful, even in
mhm,
regards to that. So that just applies even harder to kind of my idea or the Maimonides idea that even though that they are righteous, they still bear the iniquities of other people because they're still swept into the exile in history. Even it's written that in the Babylonian exile, righteous people still were sent there. And
yeah,
they do suffer under the empire, so they can carry the weight of the world's violence against their own remnants' failures.
all right. I get what you're saying, but
But
okay.
it's still a corporate norm that like like the leaders of the biblical idea, like leaders can affect the people.
Mhm,
David sinned and caused the census to occur, but still thousands of people still perished for him,
mhm.
and some of them were righteous. Does this necessarily mean that they bore the iniquities of what David did in a way?
Yeah. What so then would you so but iniquities separate us from God, right?
Well, what do you mean? Like,
Like sin separates us from God, like it separated Adam from God.
well, yeah, if you're looking at from the whatever Christian interpretations,
I wouldn't
but
say
sin, sin,
Christian, it's just
sin,
like
sin creates distance
biblical.
from God.
Yeah.
But
So
so I Isaiah, what are you going to quote? Isaiah 59 or something like that, where your
I mean, we
iniquities
could
have
go there,
separated.
but yeah, but we could go there, but I don't think we need to
Yeah,
because it even says in Isaiah in 52 or
but
53
the
verse 5.
iniquities are literally the nation's injustices
So then,
that created the
what are
separation from
transgressions?
God. Transgressions, the transgressions are also the sins of like the, not a faithful remnant, I believe. That's what I would
Okay,
say.
but it doesn't say that in the text, right? It doesn't say faithful remnant. Like, doesn't say
I
any
mean,
of
you
that.
have to read is Isaiah into different modes because of the vast poetic language and different interpretations of that. I mean, you have to take the full context in it.
Okay,
So when
so
he
then,
says wounded for our transgressions,
mhm,
a Jewish reading can say this is not automatically he was punished instead of us. It can be our rebellion caused his suffering. The speaker's wrongdoing harmed the servant because of our. So that's just the nations, our
mhm,
oppression, violence with justice that struck the servant. So the servant was wounded due to our actions, the nations.
mhm. But who's this all? We like sheep. Who's the all?
All we like sheep. Is it right after? Is this like the surely he was born? Uh, yeah, this goes saying the core idea is all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned each one to his own way, and the Lord laid the iniquity of all else.
Okay,
And
so
so this is
who's the
still, you're
all
not
we?
understanding that we is the nations who were persecuted and misjudged discernment. Then that means that we went astray. This means that the other nations were unjust, violent, they were filled with idolatry, and God made our iniquity fall upon him. Our
Yeah.
wrongdoing ended up laying on the servant in history. So he bore the burden of what we did. So
Okay.
this reads basically that our evil produced the suffering landed onto the servant. And
Yeah.
later we realized that we were wrong. And this fits with Isaiah 52:15 still.
Yeah. So then my question is because even the faithful remnant of Israel still had to atone for sin. So then how do sinful people carry the sins of sinful people and pay for the sins of sinful people?
Uh, let me think. It's not referring to the Christian kind of. You believe in what, penal atonement or something like that?
Yeah, you can leave penal
Substitute,
substitution out
yeah,
of
yeah,
that, but
okay.
you can just say, for
It's not
example, like
it's not a
according to the
standing.
law.
It's not under the halachic mechanism. So
Okay,
it's
but
not like a
according to
literal. So
Leviticus.
if you look at kapara or atonement,
Mhm.
the baseline is repentance and stuff like that. So
Yeah, but
yes,
that's later.
in the sense of the righteous suffer for the generation.
But that's later. I'm talking about in Isaiah's context, who was following Torah, who was following the Levitical laws, right? It has
Uh
to
huh.
be a sacrifice without blemish that atones for sins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a sinful nation, whether they're righteous or not, still can't atone for the sins of another sinful nation or the world, even according to the Tanakh.